What's going on, guys? This is officially my first YouTube video of my channel. I'm really excited. I've been putting this off for so long. I've got a really big focus on video content and a number of other different things moving forward. So video number one, I thought I wanted to start off with my story. Now, this is a story about how I went from Bible bashing kids in high school to building my six-figure business through social media. It includes leaving my job and everything else in between. This is obviously my story and how I got to where I am, but I think it's important to share, not only because, oh well, look at me, but it's also really important that everyone realizes that they have their own story, that you have a reason that you're doing everything that you're doing. So enjoy. Roll the intro. I spent the last decade doing graphic design as a side hustle until 2017 when I pulled the pin and wanted to go bigger. I've now built a six-figure business by sharing my story on social media. I've ditched my corporate job and now get to work with some of the most passionate humans to help them extend their reach. Follow along as I uncover how to ignite your socials and monetize your fire. Alright guys, what's going on? So today I wanted to cover off my story. Now, whilst this is all well and good for me to talk about me and myself and how great I am, I think it's really important to also know and understand that you have your own story, you have your own journey that you've been through, and as such, people want to buy into that. People want to buy into who you are, what you're all about, the values, and how you got to where you are. Okay, now, whilst I share mine, and obviously this is my story to help you understand who I am, I want you to also be thinking about your story and similar circumstances and things like that. Now, what I'm not going to do is I'm not about to go through how I overcame drug addiction or how I went in and out of jail. Like, I had good parents, I had amazing things, okay? But please understand that regardless of how bad your past is, regardless of how good your upbringing is, everyone has a reason they are where they are and why they do what they do. And what I'm hoping to do is, through sharing my story, my passion, and all the other things about me, is that this helps you to understand how you can bring it out in yourself. So my story starts back in high school, where I used to go around Bible bashing people. So I was notorious for being the churchy who walked around contradicting everything I said. Used to go around telling people how much they're sinning doing this and how much they're sinning doing that. And at the same time, it just wasn't nice. Now, I never went around physically bashing with people with the Bible or anything. I was just contradicting everything that I said in regards to telling people why they're going, like I used to go around telling people they're going to hell. Just stuff that wasn't nice, okay? Now, whilst I was obviously a lost kid during high school and all those other things, there was still something in me that there was a reason why I was doing it. And this is something that I've thought about a lot, is why was I going around Bible bashing people in the first place? And whilst it sounds messed up, whilst it may not make sense, it was actually my way of trying to bring out the best in people, trying to help people, all right? Because I thought at the time, telling them about God, telling them about religion was ultimately going to help them to be a better person, right? I know messed up, right? At the time, it was the wrong vehicle. But that was my truth. That was what I knew, that's what I understood as someone going through that period. And there were some things that still, whilst I was going around Bible bashing people, whilst I was going around doing all this stuff, during high school, I actually got up in front of 500 odd people. So I've got this isn't actually my school or anything. This is a photo on Google I found. That would have been the equivalent of the assembly that I stood up in front of and told everyone, hi, I'm going to be running a Bible group at lunchtimes. Now, it was for this reason that whilst the vehicle of religion wasn't the right vehicle for me at the time, and there's obviously, side note, nothing against religion, nothing, whatever you believe, all well and good to you, but I believed in myself so much that I was willing to really step outside of my comfort zone, really do what I believed in. And so again, whilst religion at the time wasn't the right vehicle, I knew it was there. So here's the thing, after I left school, I contradicted myself a lot. I was going around drinking and doing all the things, all the bets that I took around not doing this and not doing that. I ended up falling through. And as a result of being in this position where everything that I knew, everything that I stood for was now being contradicted, it started to play on my own personal belief on who I am and what I'm capable of and everything else. So fast forward from school, I when I left school, I did a graphic design graphic design course. And as part of that graphic design course, I found a real passion in design, being creative with technology and a whole stack of other things, but it just wasn't paying the bills. So I moved into the corporate world. Now, the only picture that I have of the corporate world is this one, and this is my buddy Jason. So at the time, after I tried to have a go at, graphic design and everything else, I wasn't really making enough money. I moved into the corporate world, into sales and a whole bunch of other stuff. And later on down the track, I then went into people management. And so again, this is my buddy Jason. Jason and I did a program together called Future Leaders, and this is basically that. And so again, this whole I want to help people. I want to make something of myself. It started to come back up again. So as I went through the corporate world, it's really funny is that whilst I thought I was helping people, what I realized, and this is not for every corporate job, just for the one that I had, I found that I was feeding the people who were under me, who reported into me. I found that I was feeding them the same bullshit that I was getting fed from my manager. And I fucking hated it. It sucked because I didn't believe some of the stuff that, I didn't agree with some of the stuff that I was being told, that I was then relied upon to feed on into the people who went in, reported into me. It just sucked. I didn't want to do it, but I felt like if I want to keep my job, I want to keep paying my bills, and I want to, keep doing what I'm doing, then I've just got to keep going. And so this is where it's the entrepreneur in me really started to come back out. So from that point, I then designed this app called Fire. Now, you will not find this app on any Apple Store, Google Play Store, anything right now, because it fucking failed hard, all right? So the reason, but I wanted to show you, obviously with my graphic design skills and everything else that I've done in the past, I came up with this concept of people being able to set their goals and set incremental steps towards their goals. And I called it Fire. Obviously, there's some sort of connection from 5-6 years ago to where I am now. So I'm just fascinated with fire. Anyway, so the point of this story was that this entrepreneur in me came out again, and I spent $20,000. I designed it, but spent $20,000 to outsource it to a company who then developed the app for me. Now, after I released it, after I went through the process of designing all the pages, all the bits and pieces, released it to the market, I made a total of $15 back. $15, yeah, so spending $20K, $15 back. It was a massive flop, okay? Now, during that time, I just thought that building something, or a lot, and I'm going to say this, is that a lot of people have this mentality that if I build a website, people are just going to come to it, or if I have some sort of social media, people are just going to come. I thought I designed an app, people are just going to download it and I'll become rich, right? Wrong, right? So what happened was exactly that. I made a total of $15 back. I learned some extremely valuable lessons, including market research, how important market research is. I learned about project management, marketing and building an audience before releasing an app. And I also learned a lot about, again, through the research part around making sure you ask the questions and get valuable feedback. So what I did and what I should have ideally done was, before I spent the 20K, I found out that I could have spent $200. I could have done the equivalent of what I've done, sent it out to a market, researched it between some friends, some family, things like that, worked out all the changes that I wanted to do, then given it to a developer, then put a plan behind it. All the things that I didn't do, these are things that I now teach and whatnot. And if you will, this is my college degree. This is where I learned. So anyways, at the time it really sucked. It really fucking sucked. I felt like I couldn't stand by my truth because of what happened in school. I had just flopped with this $20,000 app, which, on a side note, I hadn't even told my wife I was borrowing the money until I got accepted and lended in my account, and then I told her. So I fucked up, right? At the time I was still paying it, and a number of other different things. So I was in a bit of a mess. Now, I don't suffer from anything like depression or anything else, but as most men, what happens is you try a couple of times and you try a couple of things out, and you find this very, very low place in your life, and you either sink or swim. And for me, luckily, this is what happened when I started swimming. So this is Oscar. It's my second son. Oh, it's my first son, my second born. He was born on the 6th of June, 2017. So what happened is just prior to him being born, I was already still doing my side hustle, still creating logos, business cards, doing some bits on some web development. Just wasn't very good at it at the time. And I also started to play around with social media content, and was thinking about the idea of Facebook ads and running Facebook ads for businesses, because I was investing in some programs and a whole stack of other things. Now, when Oscar was born, as most parents can relate to who are watching, that's when everything changed for me, because it was from that point I decided, why am I here? When he grows up, and my daughter, when Ruby grows up, what are they going to think of their dad? What are they going to say about their dad? Are they going to say, my dad's a loser? Are they going to say, my dad, didn't try very hard? Whatever. But what I thought was, how cool would it be if my kids could look up to me and go, my dad gave it his fucking all. My dad works his fucking butt off to get where he wants to be. My dad makes shit happen. They're the things that I want my kids to say about me. And so for that reason, I decided that I'm going to overcome all my fears, over all my fucking mind doubts, over all these fucking mind games that were running through my head. Now, this is just, alright, so, which, by the way, I want to give some context around this. This is a Facebook Live that I did just after I started doing when I started to build my business. This is a Facebook Live I did during that. Now, I was fortunate enough that while I was still in my corporate job, I managed to find a job where I could work from home 5 days a week. So this is actually my work computer. It's obviously turned off, the screen's turned off anyway. But the reason I wanted to bring this up, this Facebook Live, is because when I did this Facebook Live, this was actually significant, because back in high school, I carried around this guilt, this shame, all this bullshit about thinking that people still put the churchy label on me, and people couldn't trust me, and all this other stuff, and therefore I can't go anywhere, or I can't be seen anywhere and feel like that I can be my truthful self, because I'll get cut down and I'll get reminded that you contradicted yourself with all the stuff you used to say in high school, Alan. And so for that reason, this was my way of saying, you know what, I don't actually think people will. And it wasn't until I jumped on Facebook, and you wouldn't be able to read it from there, but when I titled this, it was something along the lines of, your past is, it actually says, your past does not equal your future. I've been putting this off for a while, but what I was really saying is I was given an open invitation for people who may have had a problem with me, may have had, issues with me in the past about all the things that I thought people were thinking about me. I laid an open platform through Facebook Live and gave people the platform to cut me down, because in my mind, that was the worst possible thing that can happen, okay? And by doing this, after I did this, no one cut me down, by the way. No one, people just encouraged me, and like I really laid bare, and I said, I made a whole bunch of contradictions. I said things that were really mean, and obviously done things that don't match what I believe and all this other stuff. And not one single person was there to cut me down. And so overcoming this and doing this, getting vulnerable with my audience, was the biggest lesson for me to understand that we play these mind games in our heads that aren't necessarily true. And for me, it was that I couldn't live by my truthful self because people would cut me down for what's happened in the past. Now, what I learned out of that is there's a part of not giving a fuck, but there's also a part of being really understanding where you are and being truthful to where you are, being authentic and really living into what it is that you stand for. So from this day, there's a whole bunch of amazing things that happened. I connected with some amazing people. And then fast forward, in 2018, I built a 6-figure business through my social media agency. I started running an online program, and I did a whole bunch of stuff through building a brand using social media. And this photo is actually me standing out of the front. On that level is where I used to work. And so this is the day that I left in January 2019. That's the day that I got to say, fuck you, corporate world. And this was one of the happiest days of my life, because just after that point, I then attracted a massive 5-figure contract, bigger than anything I've ever been paid in the corporate world, and only required to work a fraction of the time for this particular contract. There's a whole bunch of amazing things that have happened since. And just to finish it off, there's Oscar now, my little girl Ruby, my beautiful wife Jess. But guys, the reason, again, I wanted to go into my story and really talk about this is because everyone has a story of their own. Everyone has a reason that they're doing what they're doing. My reason for doing what I'm doing is I want to help people. I want to use social media to help people build a brand. And most importantly, I think I put off taking action for so long, and I want to help people to take action towards their goals, towards their dreams, and towards things that they're passionate about. So I'd love to know, what are you passionate about? What do you stand for? And what are you putting off that you need to go and do? What's going on, guys? I hope you enjoyed the video. So first of all, there's something that I want you to do before you go. What it is I'd love to know what's one thing that you got out of this video, okay? Whether it's something that you're going to take action on, something that you learned, please leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your feedback. Secondly, make sure you like the video. Third, make sure you subscribe so you can see all of my future videos. And last but not least, I have a 5-day challenge. So this is a free 5-day challenge. This 5 days, 5 invaluable trainings to help you monetize your message online. There's some absolute goldies in there. Make sure you check it out. And that's it. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Go get it.